Welcome, my friends. Welcome to my world. I'm your host, Kevin Rutherford. It is Thursday, May 19th. We are here live. It is a free-for-all today. If you have a question, a comment, a topic, anything goes, jump in and dial right now. I do see there are some calls starting to come in. I'm going to get to those calls pretty quickly. I really don't have much of an open today, so line them up. Let's find out what's on your mind today. I've been working on a lot of different projects all at once. We're testing several new technologies for the network itself, still working on our software, and also trying to develop some simple systems for our hosts. And one of the challenges, I've looked around at other networks and people who have done kind of sort of similar things. We have some pretty unique stuff we're doing with our network. One of the things I noticed, though, almost everybody uses hosts that's what they do. They're in radio. We're taking a totally different approach to this. This was never about radio for us. Even when I was on Sirius, I never considered myself a radio personality. That wasn't why I did it. It was just a great tool for our audience, for truck drivers who are in a truck every day. Sirius was the best tool possible to reach out and be able to help more and more people. But really, it was never about the radio. Our show was never as polished and, professional as a lot of the other shows were. Sometimes our audio quality isn't all that great, but we tend to really focus not so much on the flashy, polished radio stuff, but on the information. I think that's the important part of what we do. We're here to provide information, to teach people, to help people, to answer their questions. And you're not going to do that with radio people. You're going to do it with people who are really good at what they do. And that can be a challenge. One, finding people like that who have the time and the ability to come on the air and communicate well. I think we have a great lineup of hosts, and none of them are radio personalities. None of them have any radio experience. So there's some challenges there, but that's what we're working on. We'll overcome that. We also want, one of the things I'm testing a lot right now, and I was going to test it again today, but I figured I'd take a little break because I'm a little frustrated with it. Really simple systems that are very, very mobile. Think of our hosts like John and Joel, who we never know where they're going to be when they're doing their show. They're both out traveling a lot. They're on the road. They're working. But I still want good quality, the best quality we can come up with. It may not be the perfect polished radio show and all that, but we want good quality so it's easy to listen to. And we want to set up where we can bring more hosts to the table. And that if we can make that simple enough, ultimately, I'd really like to come up with a system where all a host would need is a phone and a good headset that works with the phone. We might be able to pull that off. It's just, it's getting a little frustrating for me right now. I just had one of those days yesterday where every time I got really close to thinking I had the system figured out, there would be one thing that wouldn't work correctly. And then I'd go back and start over. Well, let's try it this way. But we'll continue working on that. So between that and all of the reading I've been doing and putting show notes together for all the different shows, almost everything right now, unfortunately, keeps coming back to politics. And I've said I want to keep politics out of my general shows. I don't want to open with a lot of political stuff. I know a lot of people don't want to hear it. They're tired of politics. So I do have the show The Pit, and it's interesting if you look at my show notes for each show. For The Pit, I have page after page after page of ideas and things that I should be talking about politically. The other shows, this show just a general free-for-all where, I might talk about health, I might talk about trucks or money or finance or the economy or whatever it might be. Right now, it's very repetitive. I've talked about the economy. I'm going to talk about it some more today. It's the most important thing we've got going on, and it's hard to talk about the economy without getting political. So again, I've got tons and tons of notes for political shows and ideas. The rest of the stuff right now kind of feels like we're in a holding pattern. If you own a truck and you haven't done all the things you should have been doing to get ready for what we're about to go through, and I think it's here. We started talking about this 4 or 5 years ago, that the regular business cycle and the cycle in our industry, even though a lot of things are getting really odd, the basics haven't changed. The market goes up, the market goes down. Freight rates go up, freight rates go down. Fuel prices go up, fuel prices go down. That's all normal, nothing really different about that, except for the fact that we've talked about the higher things go and the longer they stay there, the typical pattern is they're going to drop farther and stay down longer. If we look back historically at our recessions or our downturns in the economy, that's how they work. Well, the scary part about this is we've been so high for so long, we now need to try to figure out where the bottom is. And I don't know. Spot market rates are already down $1 a mile. That's the average across the country. That's van, I believe. Flatbed is doing better than any other segment. Flatbed is actually holding somewhat steady, more so than the other segments are, and that's pretty typical for summer. But I don't think that's going to last either. I think what's going to happen in the flatbed market, I think the housing market is going to have a big impact there. I think we're going to see that start to slow down because we're starting to see the cracks in the armor now in the real estate market. Yeah, just a month ago, we were still talking about lots of bidding, houses selling, almost everything sold for more than it was listed for. I've mentioned that, we've moved into more real estate instead of stock market. And so over the last couple of years, we've been investing in some real estate in our area. And the one thing about real estate is it's very, very unique when it comes to location. The saying is when it comes to real estate, the three most important things are location, location, and location. It changes everything. Lisa and I are both from an area, Northeast Ohio, and I was just back there. And that is one of the cheapest housing markets in the entire country. That area there, I am shocked at how affordable houses are. The per square foot price in Northeast Ohio, where I just spent a lot of time and I was looking, it's probably 1/3, maybe even almost 1/4 of what the per square foot price is around where I live right now. And this isn't traditionally a really high dollar market where I'm at, but it's certainly becoming that. But that's all finally starting to change. We're seeing prices now start to come down on some of these houses. We're seeing houses now sell for less than the listed price. Not all of them. We haven't turned that corner completely yet, but a lot of real estate now, that dynamic is starting to change. When that shifts, then they won't be building as many new houses. That has a pretty big impact on the flatbed market. The other thing that it's just really, really hard to get a handle on right now and figure out where we're going on this is inflation. It's what everybody's talking about, but I don't even know that we went through this in the early 80s. That's the comparison we make a lot of times because we haven't seen numbers like this since the early 80s. I was just graduating high school. I wish I would have paid a little more attention back then and understood it. I've gone back and, read it now, and I remember how things were. But we didn't see all of the issues we're seeing right now. All of the issues with crime and supply chain shortages. The shortages are really, really getting concerning. We've been talking about them now for over a year, and I don't see any improvements. I actually see things getting worse. Right before I came on the air today, I happened to see a headline, so I started reading it, but I didn't have time again to go verify. Just because you read something today, and I don't care what news source it comes from, you absolutely have to verify. It seems like all the news sources anymore are so quick to jump on stories. They're even, reporters, people who are supposed to be digging to develop these stories and make sure that they're correct and accurate. There doesn't seem to be nearly as much of that going on today. It seems like an article pops up, everybody starts linking to it or, retweeting it or whatever it is, and then we find out, well, maybe there wasn't a whole lot of real reporting done in that article. So you do have to be careful. I try to at least, go back when I'm reading something, at least verify the source, find at least 2 or 3 other news outlets that are also maybe reporting on it, have some different facts so you know that people just aren't repeating and retweeting. But here was the gist of this article, and this is the first time I've heard this. We've heard about high prices on a lot of things, about shortages on a lot of things, but this is the first time I've heard this one. Before I get to that, I just looked at the board. We had some calls coming in, and we've got nothing right now. So if you want to jump in and join us, I can always talk a lot, but I really don't have a lot of topics I want to spend a lot of time on today. So if you want to jump in right now, phone lines are open. I promise you'll get through. 855-950-3835. It is a free-for-all. You can talk about anything you want. If you want to talk about politics, you can. I'm trying to stay out of it too much in my opens. But jump in right now, 855-950-3835. So back to this article, and I'm going to go do a little digging on this. Somebody had mentioned that they tried to rent a compact car. It might have been the Atlanta market. I forget exactly where it was. And the rate was $180. And when I saw that, I thought it was going to be a week. It was a day. $180 a day for a compact car. And the explanation went on to say that the reason prices are always supply and demand. What that tells you is a lot of people are renting cars and there's not enough cars to rent. That's what that tells you. Well, I got thinking, why? Why would that be an issue right now? That it almost seems a little backwards. I would have expected car rentals might be down a little bit right now because business travel is still down. But the explanation actually might make some sense. Turns out that a lot of these people with rental cars have the rental car because their vehicle is in a shop somewhere, and a lot of it seems to be body shops. I haven't heard this, but I guess body shops are having a really hard time getting parts. And these people, instead of having a rental car for a week maybe while their car's in the body shop, they now have that car for a month. That ties up a lot of cars. It's really hard to get your head around some of this because it seems to be happening in so many places and it's not always being reported all that well. Right now, everybody is talking about the formula shortage, the baby formula shortage. That one's pretty critical. How did we get here on this? If nothing else, we just have to look at our own supply chain here, and we have to realize it may cost all of us some more money, but we really should bring a lot more manufacturing back to our country, whether it costs us money or not. I mean, it brings jobs, it brings tax revenues, but more importantly, it brings a little security, which we don't seem to have right now. I am sickened and saddened that we are begging other countries to send us really basic stuff that we need. Oil and gas. We're asking other countries to produce more. We're now sending air freighters over to Europe to try to bring back baby formula. Those are products and revenue that should be generated here in the United States. One, because it's good for our economy, but two, it's a security issue right now. I think we're a little late to the party, but I hope we start to change that, and I really hope our supply chain gets better. We can deal with inflation. We can deal with stagflation. It won't be fun, but we can get through that kind of stuff. But these shortages of critical items are really a little concerning. All right, we're going to get to the calls because now everybody just flooded in, which is awesome. Keep them coming. Like I said, I didn't have a lot on my plate today that wasn't political, so we'll get to the calls. Let's do that right now. Let's get started in Wisconsin. Dave, welcome to the program.
Hey, Kevin, how you doing?
Doing good. What's on your mind today?
Hello. Hey, Kevin, I'm just, I got an injury here. My left testicle is swollen. And I went to the hospital, and they're trying to give me antibiotics. And I think I need an incision. What do you think? What would you do here in this situation?
Well, the first thing we need to do, I don't know whether you need antibiotics or not, and I don't know if they did enough work to know whether you need antibiotics or not. So the first thing we always do, whether it's now you mentioned an injury. Did you do something that caused this, or did it just show up?
No, I was just sitting there.
Okay.
I was sitting there at a truck stop Sunday, and a balloon started coming out behind my testicle, and it went up into my testicle now it's the left side's inflated.
So I wouldn't call that an injury then. You know, when I think of an injury, I think of we rolled our ankle, we, cut ourselves. So this just showed up. So did they do any sort of testing and then say you have a bacterial infection?
They didn't do no blood work or nothing, but they ran a CAT scan on me yesterday, and I got to go back tomorrow morning. And they said there's no cyst in there or nothing.
So it sounds to me like they don't know what's causing this.
That's what I'm thinking.
Well, we need to ask them that. I mean, here's the only thing that antibiotics would help. If they can show you, here, you have a bacterial infection. Here's the bacteria. Here's why we're giving you an antibiotic. I'm just afraid that this is their go-to. They just throw antibiotics at everything, and that's a bad practice. We just shouldn't do that for a lot of reasons. It's bad for your gut bacteria. It's bad because we overuse antibiotics and they become less and less effective. But this seems to be the go-to for the medical community if they don't know what to do. Well, let's just give somebody antibiotics so it feels like we're doing something. So I would go back to whoever diagnosed this and recommended the antibiotics and ask them, why are we doing antibiotics? Do I have a bacterial infection? And if they say, well, we don't know, so we're trying it, I'm just not a big fan of that. But the answer, what do we do here? It's the same every time we have a medical issue. We have to find out the root cause. Without finding out the root cause, we have no idea what we should do. And many times the medical community just throws things at the symptoms, not the root cause. So There's a couple of ways to approach this. I actually don't mind using the traditional medical community for diagnosis sometimes. Sometimes they're pretty good at figuring out, okay, here's where the problem at least originated. Here's the cause. Now, if they can tell you it is a true bacterial infection, yeah, we'll probably go with the antibiotics. I'm not totally against them. I'd like to know for sure that there's a reason. Are they using a more targeted antibiotic? Are they using a broad spectrum? And then if they are, we need a protocol to counteract that. Lots of fermented foods, a couple probiotics. But right now, based on the information they've told you, I don't know what we should be doing.
You want the name of the antibiotic they're giving me?
No, that won't tell me anything because our antibiotics, like I said, even when they're targeted, unless they can tell me we chose this antibiotic because here's the bacteria we found. If they didn't do blood work and all they did was some sort of imaging, I don't believe that they can know that this is a bacterial infection.
That's what I was thinking too, because they didn't take no blood work or nothing.
Do you have a general practitioner that you go to?
No, I'm on the road.
Okay. I hate walk-in clinics and that kind of stuff because usually they do the same thing. They just throw the easiest thing at it. They don't really put a lot of work into figuring out what's going on. If possible on the road, I might try to get an appointment with a functional medicine doctor. This isn't something we would solve with nutrition. So, and that's what we do. We don't deal with acute issues that you have right now. There's very few things that we can fix with just nutrition unless we know what the root cause is, and then we work towards solving the big picture problem. But this is more of an acute medical condition. So we really do need a doctor here. A functional medicine doctor would be even better if you could get a consult, even a telemedicine consult where a doctor, I have no idea if there are 4 things that could cause this or 12 things that could cause it. Right now, we need a good diagnosis is what we need.
That's right, Kevin. My dad had the same problem. Does that mean anything?
No, it really doesn't. I mean, it very, very few things are truly genetic. There are lots that have a genetic component, but this again, it's an unusual, it's acute, it needs to be dealt with, but first thing is we've just got to figure out what's really going on here.
Okay, and then my last question would be, does this go away on its own? This they're bad. It's implemented pretty good.
Dave,
does it go away on its own?
Dave?
Yeah.
So I'm going to go back to my last thing. I don't know how to treat it because I don't know what it is.
You're right.
I have no idea whether it's going to last a day or 6 years because I don't know what it is. We really have to identify what caused this.
Blood work.
Yeah,
I got it.
Yeah, I think it's going to take that. And again, I don't know. I don't do medical. Like I said, if we can find a traditional medical doctor that figures out what's going on here, that's fine. Then we can treat it more naturally. But whether it's a functional medicine doctor or a traditional MD, we've got to figure out why this happened.
Okay. I'll request blood work tomorrow when I get there in the morning then.
Sounds good. Once you've got some sort of a reason, a root cause, call me back. I mean, there is a lot that can be done with nutrition, even to support what other treatment they might recommend. So call me back by all means. We'll take it from there once we can figure out what's going on. Let's go to Missouri this time. Grant, welcome to the program.
Good morning, Kevin. I just got a couple really quick questions for you.
Sure.
The first one would be, if I get on Healthy Tribe,
yes,
where do I find your webinars on canning? Because me and my wife were discussing that we need to start canning last night.
Okay, so if you go to, we are in the process of really improving some of the navigation because we have some new technology that's going to allow us to. So we're going to be creating kind of a checklist for new members, which will make it really easy to find a lot of things that aren't right in the top of the feed all the time. You've got to go looking for them. Things like our, webinars on yogurt and canning and that kind of stuff. Right now, the easiest way, you could either over on the left side, the menu on the left side, you can go to Discovery. You'll find a lot of links in there to a lot of that stuff. You could also go down to Courses. So a lot of these things are in our course, Healthy Cookbook, Healthy Webinar. Those are two probably the easiest ways right now.
Okay. Yeah, thank you for that. And the last question is Cardio Miracle. I have high blood pressure, and I'm taking avorstatin, I believe is what it is.
Avorstatin?
And that doesn't seem to be, yeah.
Okay, you're not taking...
That doesn't seem to be...
The doctor didn't tell you that was for blood pressure, did they?
Yeah.
Wait. Well, okay, I want to make sure I'm hearing this right. So do you have the drug or the name or a label in front of you?
No.
Spell it for me to make sure I'm hearing this right.
Or that could be for my cholesterol, couldn't it?
It is. That's
Okay.
Anything that ends in the word statin or anything close to like statin at the end, that's exactly what it is. It's a statin. It's for cholesterol. It has nothing to do with your blood pressure.
Okay, let me rephrase that. I'm on blood pressure medication. I'm not sure which one it is.
Lisinopril, maybe?
Yeah, actually, I think that is it.
That's the go-to.
But my blood pressure...
Yeah, go ahead.
I was going to say, my blood pressure doesn't seem to be going down, and I'm on a fairly stable keto diet. Do you think Cardio Miracle might help? Because that's kind of expensive, and I wanted to see if you think I might get a return on my investment.
That's the whole purpose of it. I mean, it has a lot of other benefits, but the biggest benefit to Cardio Miracle is lowering blood pressure. And the way that it does it, I think it always helps to know how something works or why it works, or all of the nutrients in Cardio Miracle are designed to increase the production of NOx in the body. And what that does is that is a signaling molecule, nitric oxide, is a signaling molecule that tells the veins and arteries, your cardiovascular system, to kind of relax and expand. And think about, your veins and arteries are like pipes. And think about when you try to push a lot of liquid through a really small pipe, what do you get? You get a lot of pressure, right?
Correct.
But then if you take that same amount of liquid or fluid and you push it through a much bigger pipe, then there is no pressure. It flows nice and easy. That's what nitric oxide does in the body. It's a signaling molecule that causes the veins and arteries to expand and relax. And it just allows blood to flow through easier. The other products that we've talked about in the past, things like fermented beets, that is the primary driver for producing more nitric oxide in the body. A lot of the nutrients that are in beets. Cardio Miracle took it much further than that. It does have fermented beet in it, but then it's got a lot of supporting nutrients and minerals that they're what we call cofactors that make that whole process work so much better. So there are other things on the market. We know anything that increases nitric oxide will increase blood flow because we're opening up those veins and arteries, which also lowers blood pressure. The other big thing that this is really good for is ED. And if you look at Viagra, that's one of the ways it works, by increasing blood flow. So we know that this works. Cardio Miracle by far is the best formulated product I've seen for this. So much time and research went into this. The nutrients that are in there are all very, very good for your heart and your cardiovascular system. I think I had a call sometime this week, might have been Monday. The guy took it for other reasons. He didn't have high blood pressure. He had actually pretty normal blood pressure, right in the range where we kind of talk about all the time. And he started taking it. Within 2 weeks, his numbers had dropped almost 30 points. He was actually worried his blood pressure might be too low.
Wow. Okay, well, I ordered a 60-serving bottle, and I'm going to give it a shot.
Yeah, give it a shot. The other thing, just one other thing I'll address, because we see this pretty common now. What do you feel like your stress levels are these days?
Actually, I feel personally that I'm not really stressed that
Good.
much. I'm on Effexor for bipolar, and one thing that has done is just really let things roll off my back, where I don't get upset or too stressed over anything anymore.
How long have you been on that?
I've been on it for 4 years.
Okay.
And I was mostly it wasn't a. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
Yeah, just so you know, and this is why, we do a lot of discovery calls, so we have more time and we have more background. I don't always have time to ask the questions. Effexor is known for raising blood pressure.
Right. Yeah, I did. I was aware of that. I was just hoping maybe this would help a little bit to get it down a little, because you definitely don't want high blood pressure.
Well, yeah, the Cardio Miracle will. There's no doubt. But part of what we're fighting against here is the fact that one of the side effects of Effexor is hypertension.
Okay, yeah. I will actually try it for a month, and I'll let you know.
Perfect. I will
Thank you, Kevin.
Yep. All right. I'll look forward to hearing back from you on that one. Again, this is why we really like discovery calls, where I have more time on an issue like this. The Effexor sounds like, you needed to kind of, it's usually an anti-anxiety. Anxiety is kind of almost identical to stress. Anxiety causes a lot of stress. When we're anxious, we release a lot of those stress hormones. Cortisol increases. So it's sometimes ironic that you're taking the Effexor to try to reduce stress and relax, and yet it raises your blood pressure just like stress would. So I would still go look at the stress protocol that I've outlined, and I would work on, a couple of those stress builders that I talk about, building the stress muscle, building more stress resilience. And I go over them all the time, but here's what they are. These 4 are the most effective I've found so far. The Wim Hof breathing and cold exposure, those cost you nothing. I always have people start there, cost you nothing, incredible results. It takes minutes a day, and that's it. Even if you wanted to do something like 8 full rounds a day, which is really powerful of the breathing, that takes about a half hour. The cold shower is just minutes, and those 2 are both very effective and don't cost anything. The other 2 that we've really identified, the infrared sauna blanket, which we sell in our store at letstruck.com, and the X3 bar for those quick 10-minute resistance training workouts a couple times a week. Those 4 things are very, very powerful at reducing stress and building your stress muscle. All right, we're getting through the calls. We just opened up some lines, so if you want to jump in right now, you can. It is a free-for-all. Anything goes. 855-950-3835. We're going to head off to Florida this time. Mike, welcome to the program.
Hey, hello, Kevin. This is Mike Hardy.
What's on your mind today?
Spoke with you and the guys from Pittsburgh Power last week, and about the new or the old truck that I got and optimizing fuel mileage.
Yes,
it's got the 24.5s on it, and just wondering if I should go to super singles or definitely go to 22.5s. I know I got a lot of other things fixed on the truck before I worry about it, but just trying to plan ahead and be prepared.
Yeah, for me, it doesn't have to be wide singles, but I do want to lower my rolling resistance on every position for tires. Steer tires, I'm not too worried about rolling resistance. I want a good steer tire that works well in your operation. They're all so close on rolling resistance, and that axle has the least impact. So I don't worry about it too much on the steer axle. Drive tires and certainly trailer tires, if you own the trailer, rolling resistance is important. I like wide singles for a lot of reasons. They can be very low rolling resistance. Not all of them are. There are some wide singles with the fairly high rolling resistance. Even Michelin makes one that's pretty high. But I like wide singles for the ease of use. One tire to mess with. I'm not always messing with that inner tire. I don't have to worry about mismatched tires affecting each other because they're bolted together. One tire starts to wear funny. Now it's going to affect the other one. I love the way they handle and drive. I've told the story many times where I got a chance to spend a couple days at Michelin's proving grounds and, really put wide singles through the test on the wet track, on slalom courses. And we got to compare them against duals. Two identical trucks and trailers, one set up with wide singles, one set up with duals. We were able to jump right from one truck to the next and run right back through the same course. I was really impressed with the way they handled. So I like wide singles for a lot of reasons, and then I also make sure I'm getting good low rolling resistance. There are plenty of single tires on the market right now that you can put on the drive axle that have very low rolling resistance. So if you decide you'd rather stay with singles, you could still do that, but I would change this truck to low profile 22.5s either way.
Right. Okay. All right. That's what I remember you saying.
One of the issues right now with tires, and I don't know if you've checked yet, what's available is a big issue.
Right. I have been looking around, and it seems like the super singles are available.
Good.
They're pricey, but they are available.
Just out of curiosity, because I haven't priced tires in quite a while, what is the cost of, say, a Michelin wide single right now?
It varies quite a bit, but I've seen them all the way up to $1,400 a piece.
Wow. Wow. I can remember a time where I was paying just a little over $800 for them.
Right. Now, I've seen some other brands that start in the high sixes.
Ooh, I'd be a little worried about that, actually. That sounds too cheap.
Right.
Yeah. Even I can go all the way back to, it would have been like 2005 when I first started looking at wide singles and buying them. And even back then, I think Michelin's were in the $700-800 range way back then. I can't imagine somebody selling a wide single for under $700 right now. That would worry me, actually.
Right. Well, those are the off brands. The majority of your common brands are, I'm going to say, $900 to $1,400.
Yeah,
the range there.
The $900 to $1,000 range was fairly common. I mean, even 5-6 years ago, we were paying that for a good Michelin wide single. $1,400. That's certainly a stretch. That's an expensive tire, but that's about what I would have expected him to be now, based on where prices are. So either way, like I said, I like the wide singles for a lot of reasons. But there are plenty of good single tires right now. So a lot of it's just a matter of what you can get. But I would go to low Pro 22s, and I would look for very low rolling resistance. We're back to that place where every 1/10 of a mile per gallon is going to matter again. And we can't even measure a 1/10 of a mile per gallon improvement. But if we know something gives us that improvement, for example, wheel covers. Wheel covers, on one truck, you'll never be able to measure that improvement. But there's been enough testing done that we know it's there. It's about 1% if you cover all 4 of your drive tires with wheel covers. 1% is 1% today. Well, you're talking about $6 a gallon fuel, and it's still going up. This stuff is going to become critically important.
Right. I actually spoke with Bruce yesterday, and stopped at one of his dealers and bought some max mileage and threw it in my F-350 hotshot truck in the middle of a run through Mississippi yesterday. And within 30 minutes, mileage improved by 0.8.
Okay, so you were watching on like an instant read gauge.
Correct.
Okay, interesting. And again, we talk about all the time. We see fuel mileage increases. It's not what the product was designed for. It's not what we really promote it for. And what I believe is that the additive itself being in the fuel is not improving fuel economy. Maybe a little, because it does create a more complete
cleaning.
Yeah, it's more of a complete burn. So technically, if you burn more of the fuel better, you should see a fuel mileage increase. But that's really, really minor and probably hard to measure. What we see is that these emission engines can get dirty pretty quickly. And if you keep them clean, you maintain the fuel economy the truck should be getting. So over time, as they get dirty, you lose fuel economy. What we're really doing is bringing it back to its potential.
Right. Is that why they named it max mileage? Maximize the ability of your vehicle?
I wasn't part of the naming process over there, but I imagine that's part of it. And again, like I say, there could be a small bump from the fact that it is burning more of the fuel a little better. But for the most part, I think any gain we see is because we're cleaning out the system and making everything run better, which is just bringing it back to the way it should be.
Right. Absolutely. So just a little extra here. I started a paleo style of eating, way of eating about a year ago.
Okay.
Due to listening to your show. And over the course of 2 months, lost 30 pounds. And last December, did my blood work. And my doctor was astounded and asked me what I've been doing.
Excellent.
So,
excellent. Love that.
Fantastic results.
Love that.
Yeah. All my blood work's perfect. And I was, triglycerides were crazy. It went from 470 something down to 67.
Wow.
Over the course of 6 months.
That's incredible.
Yeah. It was incredible. Energy levels, driving, don't get tired, don't get sleepy. It's just, thank you so much for all the help and inspiration to
You are welcome.
Take care of myself.
You are welcome. Thank you for the support and the feedback. I appreciate it. I mentioned that when I was on the road this time, I had a chance to spend a lot of time back where I grew up. All my family's still there. I haven't really maintained friendships from high school, but I reached out to a couple people I was close to in high school, and it was interesting because after 30 some years we got together and it was like, it just seemed really normal. They didn't feel like strangers at all, and technically they are, but it's interesting. And one of the things we talk about on the health show a lot, and we talk about a lot, is when you learn these things and you see the results in your own body and with your own health, most human beings really want to share it. They want to help other people who are close to them. And it's a struggle. You can't, I do not bring this up around people. I don't talk about it. I don't push it. I wait, and I don't on the show. People call me and ask me. Then I give them advice. I don't walk around trying to give people advice. It's never a good idea. It doesn't work well. The really encouraging for me this time was when I showed up and spent time with my family and friends. They all know what I do. They see me on Facebook or social media or whatever. So this trip when I was there, it's what everybody wanted to talk about. I spent my entire time virtually with my family and friends, almost spent the entire time talking about diet and health and stress, and I loved it because they wanted the information. They were asking about it. They were really interested. They took notes. I had a very good time doing it. And I love being able to I get to help people every day. I love that. I feel absolutely blessed that I can do that. But when you can help people close to you, your family, your friends, that was a big deal for me. And now I'm starting to get the feedback from it, which is absolutely awesome. And they're getting the same results everybody else gets, and we know it, and it's consistent, and we love it. They're losing weight, their pain goes away, their energy levels go up. Health starts improving overall, so it's really a great thing to start to hear those kind of results. Let's go to Georgia this time. Jason, welcome to the program.
Hey, Kevin. Hey, I've got more of a health related question for you. If you got an extra minute, one of your previous calls kind of reminded me of a more business-related question, but I've always kind of had a lot of respiratory issues. I had asthma as a kid growing up. I've been able to. I've always kind of been interested in nutrition and listening to the show. I've learned a lot more. A lot of those issues haven't been present for several years, but something I want to say maybe it kind of popped up over the last couple months, and I think it's a nasal polyp. My uncle and my dad both have had issues with that over the course of their lives, and I've so far been fortunate enough not to have it, but I've always had really kind of difficult time with nasal breathing, and it seems to have gotten significantly worse, like I said, over the last few months here, and it just feels like it feels kind of like I always got to blow my nose, but can't get anything out. And
so what that
kind of wanting to get your take on that.
Yeah, what that indicates, when we have that feeling in our sinuses and our nose, like we can't breathe in or out, and yet there's nothing to clear it. It's not mucus. We can't blow it. Just doesn't get better. That's typically inflammation. So all of the tissue in there is inflamed, and as it swells, it cuts down that airway. So that's typically what we're dealing with. If it's not mucus related, blocking it, it's probably inflammation. What part of the country have you been spending most of your time in the last couple of months?
I've been out east a lot more since the beginning of the year. But I live in Cheyenne, Wyoming, and up until the beginning of this year, that's where I had done most of my running. I grew up in North Carolina, which is actually where I've been doing a lot of work here since the beginning of the year.
So one of the things that could be occurring this time of year, and it may not be the whole problem, but it's probably aggravating it, making it worse, and the fact that you're away from where you normally spend time, allergies may have a big component here. You may be just...
Yeah, I had wondered if allergies could be playing a part of it.
Yeah, I think it's at least a part of it. It may be all of it, but it's at least a part of it. There may be some other things we could look at, but the fact that, when we spend enough time in an area, if we have a fairly healthy immune system, our immune system will adapt to the allergens that are there, and they get better at blocking them and stopping them from causing problems. We also recommend that people eat local raw honey, because it's almost like, I hate to use this word because it's so controversial right now, but it's almost like vaccinating yourself against that particular pollen or allergen or whatever it is, because the bees go out and they gather pollen. That's how they make honey. So you get these little micro doses of pollen in the honey over and over and over, and it helps your body develop an immunity to those allergens. Now you leave that area, you go someplace else, and they have totally different allergens there. And all of a sudden you have allergies again. Right. So that's probably, and it's interesting that you are spending time in a different area now. I think that could be what's triggering a lot of this. Tell me about your diet.
My diet is pretty clean. I'm eating, I'd probably say, over 95% carnivore. When I'm on the road, I'm 100% carnivore. I pre-make all my food and throw it in my little mini fridge. It's really only when I'm at home that I'm not eating carnivore, or I've been staying with my stepmom out here, on my reset, and I'll make all my food there at her place, and I'm grain free. On very rare occasions, I'll have white rice, but that's the only grain. Otherwise, on the day or two a week that I'm not 100% carnivore, it's just a couple of vegetables or something like that is the only thing that I'm eating beyond just meat and dairy. So yeah, that's another thing that was kind of throwing me, is because I know I've been eating really well, and I started doing carnivore, to try and cut out some of the more like an elimination, kind of a way of eating.
No, it's perfect.
And so I'm still having this issue, and I'm just kind of confused by it,
Yeah, this is one of the things that we see quite a bit. No matter how clean somebody eats, no matter how healthy they are, we do see people that are still affected by allergens. And it typically happens, spring is worse because there's tons of blooms and tons of pollen. Happens again in the fall, but it happens more for people who travel. And they keep getting, exposed to different allergens. So for truck drivers, this is a bigger problem. They're moving all over the place. They're being bombarded by allergens in the spring. One of the products I would try in our store, and if it helps, it'll tell us that this is the biggest part of the problem. We have a product in there called Histoplex, and it's a conglomeration of nutrients that are designed to kind of help your immune system fight against these kind of allergens and irritants. And if it works, and I've seen it work within 24 to 48 hours, if it does, that tells us the biggest part of the problem is just the fact that you're being exposed to a lot of allergens. If you take it and after a week at most, you don't see any improvement, then there's probably something else going on, and we would move on to the next possibility. But right now, we kind of use our troubleshooting method. What are the things that could cause your symptoms? Well, clearly allergens can do it. It's spring. There's a clue. Right. You're traveling to a different new area that you haven't been in, and you're spending a lot of time there. All the clues right now are pointing to this is an allergen issue. Let's try Histoplex. If it starts to clear up, then we'll know that's what it is. If not, like I said, call me back. We'll move on to the next possibility. Here's the other possibility that something we could do, doesn't cost you anything, doesn't take a lot of time. Have you ever done a NutriQ?
No, I haven't. I've heard you guys talking a lot about it. I've listened to the show with Lauren, and I've heard you guys talking a lot about it, and it's kind of piqued my interest. I just haven't had time to get around to doing one. Yeah,
this is a perfect example of when a NutriQ would be really valuable. We have a specific issue going on. We have a guess at what it might be. The NutriQ really, it's just an online questionnaire. We ask you all kinds of questions about symptoms, how you feel, how things are working. There are no right or wrong answers. You just kind of tell us how things are happening. And honestly, I can normally pick out an issue like this pretty quickly from a NutriQ.
Okay. I'll have to try and find time to do that then.
Yeah, I would do that. So try the Histoplex. If you can, the area that you're in, I think you said it was North Carolina, find a Whole Foods or any health store and go in and just save yourself some time. Just ask somebody for local raw honey. And even though you don't live there, you're spending a lot of time there, we could kind of inoculate you to some of the allergens that are common there.
So how much of that? I mean, I'm trying not to do too many carbs. I know honey's pretty high. I mean, how much a day would you think I should take?
Yeah, so
to get that effect?
Let's talk about that real quick. Are you still trying to lose weight?
I mean, I'm pretty thin. I'm 6'4" and I'm 190 pounds.
Oh,
I've been
huge.
in the X3 bar for a while, so
You don't need to.
I'm not Arnold Schwarzenegger or anything like that, but I'm trying to get in shape,
You don't need to lose any weight. Those numbers are excellent, so I'm not too concerned about your weight. My guess is your blood sugar probably isn't an issue either. We will see that from the NutriQ. But if you don't have any real blood sugar issues, we're not trying to lose weight. You could go up to like a tablespoon or 2 a day even. There's 3 teaspoons in a tablespoon. A tablespoon will be plenty. One of the ways I like to get my honey, honestly, if you want, the simple way is just stick a spoon in there and eat some. I actually like to put it in tea. I really love honey in my tea. So, you could drink a mug of herbal tea or a green tea or a black tea or a white tea or any kind of tea you want 2 or 3 times a day and put a teaspoon of honey in it each time. It'll keep you nice and hydrated, and it's a great way to get the honey on board.
Okay, got it. All right, well, I could change gears here on you for a second. You were talking to one of the previous callers about trying to work on fuel economy, and of course, fuel prices being what they are, that's kind of on everybody's mind right now. I found myself in a predicament, and I was curious what your take would be. So, back in 2020, I had been working in the oil field, and so my truck is it's a W9. It was stretched to accommodate a 4th axle because I was hauling 130,000 pound loads. And then that all kind of fell on its face, and I had some family issues in 2020. I struggled to find other work. So I spent most of last year just trying to recover and get back up, get my feet back under me. And I didn't expect to be, running the kind of operation that I'm running now, where it's more of an over-the-road operation. I thought I was going to be able to get back into like a local heavy haul.
Right.
And so anyways, just knowing my setup, my fuel economy is not great. And
I would guess
I was able to get by for a while.
Yeah, I would guess you're probably at 5.5 or less.
I've taken a lot of the advice that I've heard on your show. Driving under 10 pounds of boost. I mean, my 90-day average is over 6. It's not much over 6, but it's over 6. And each tank, I think it's probably because we're running summer fuel now. Each tank seems to be getting a little bit better.
Good.
To where I think the last up was getting pretty close to 7 miles to the gallon. I've been kicking the idea around to trying to unload this truck and get into a newer one, but
don't.
I mean, okay, think that was my question? Was the equipment prices are just outrageous?
Yeah,
and I didn't know if the trade-off would be worth it.
Look, here's the thing: even when equipment prices are what we would consider normal, you always take a big hit when you switch trucks. The reason being, you have to get rid of your truck at wholesale. Unless you want to go try to sell it on the open market yourself, that's always difficult. Then you sell it, now you got to scramble to go buy something else, and everything's overpriced.
Right.
Otherwise, if you do a trade-in or anything like that, now you're giving up your truck at a wholesale price and you have to buy at an inflated retail price. We always lose quite a bit, actually, in a market like this.
Yeah.
My only concern, as you were going through your fuel economy, as long as you're getting more than 6, that would have been my answer. No, don't change it right now. If we were in a normal market, I'd say, well, absolutely. Let's go get a truck. Let's try to get 8 or 8.5. But right now, there's too much risk in trying to change equipment. What happens if you get a truck that becomes a maintenance nightmare? You can't get parts for it. There is no guarantee that the next truck gets better fuel economy. Maybe we can do a lot of work to try.
Right.
You're already over 6, and what that means is you're protected against fuel prices. It doesn't matter if fuel goes to $10 a gallon, rates will go up with it, fuel surcharge will go up, your profit will stay even as long as you're getting 6. You're saying it's getting better, you're going to be working on it, there are times when you approach 7. Hell, that's awesome. I would not get rid of this truck.
Okay. All right. Yeah, that's good to hear because I've had to put a lot of money into this truck too. I had to do an in-frame on the engine last year. I just didn't drive mine.
Then
the rear ends are pretty new. So
yeah, even more important, you made big capital investments. We want to at least keep this stuff long enough that you get your money back out of those investments, and we can. Now, if you would have told me I'm struggling to get 5.2, then we might have to be a little concerned because rising fuel prices would kill you at that point. But as long as we're above 6 right now, I would caution people against trying to trade out equipment. If you're getting more than 6, just hang on for a while.
Okay. All right. Well, good deal. That's what I'll do then, Kevin. I appreciate it, man.
You're welcome. Thanks for the call. Let's go to North Dakota. Mark, welcome to the program.
Hey, Kevin, thanks for taking the call. And it comes at a perfect time with that last one. I just sold my truck and trailer, and I'm wondering what a friend of mine said they don't base that the gain on capital gains now. It's all just looked at as income. Is that true? So I'm curious what my taxes will look like maybe.
No, that's not true. It's not ordinary income. When you sell a capital asset at more than what you paid for it, you get a capital gain, and you pay a capital gain rate, whether it's short-term or long-term. If you had the equipment for more than a year, it's a long-term gain, which is a lower tax rate. If you had it for less than a year, it's a short-term and it's a higher rate. Now, did you actually sell the equipment for more than what you originally paid for it?
It's actually about the same. I paid $138.5, I think, for the truck new, and I sold it for $140.
So you have a $1,500 capital gain. Then what you will have? When did you buy that truck?
4 years ago, and it was depreciated down to 0.
Oh, okay. So, yikes. We do just set the capital gain aside. It's such a small amount, it's not even going to matter. It's going to have to be calculated. It's a tiny amount, it's not going to matter. The bigger number here, and I hate to be the bearer of bad news here, you have $140,000 in recapture of depreciation. And that is a 25% tax rate.
And that doesn't matter then, like my income this year or anything like that?
Has nothing.
So when I sell my trailer, that'll be added on top of that?
Well, in a different tax year. Now, did you sell the truck this year or last year?
This year.
Okay, so we don't have to deal with this on your tax return until next April. If you sell a trailer this year, then yes, that will get added to this. So if you sold it for $140,000 and it was fully depreciated, that's 14, 28, $35,000 in tax.
Quit counting, would you? Holy.
Sorry about that. Yeah,
because the trailer is going to be on top of that, so it's going to get worse.
Yes, it will. Like I say, hate to be the bearer of bad news, but but let's look at something else. Now I want to bring you the good news. In a traditional market,
Okay.
your $140,000 truck after 4 years honestly would have only been worth about $40,000 or $45,000.
Well, and that's why I sold it. 'Cause
Oh,
I thought, well,
absolutely.
this is ridiculous.
Yeah, so let's go. Let's actually. This is really good news. I mean, it really is. So you would have,
Yeah.
in a traditional market, you would have sold it for $45,000. You would have had $45,000 cash in your hand, and that would have been subject to recapture. And on that, you would have paid 10, 45, 9, about $13,000 in tax, roughly. So you would have had, $32,000 left to go spend. Now you just got $140,000 cash in your hand. The truck's fully depreciated, so you've got to give them $35,000. You still have $110,000 of profit here.
Yep. Let me ask you one more thing then. With that money and when I sell my trailer, what would you pay off a house or would you sit on that money?
In today's world, I have to believe that your mortgage is less than 5%. Am I correct?
Yeah, it's close to that.
4 something.
Yeah, 4.75.
Oh, yeah. In today's world, don't pay a penny extra towards that mortgage. Stick this money in the bank or in a money market account or, I was going to say bury it in your backyard, but interest rates are starting to climb fast enough that that's not a good strategy anymore. Stick it in a money market account, and that way every time interest rates go up, you don't have to do anything. You just start collecting more interest. And at some point, that cash is going to be an awesome asset to have. You could, maybe at some point you will go pay down the mortgage. Maybe you'll go buy some new real estate. Maybe you'll invest it. There's going to be maybe you'll put it in a certificate of deposit at the bank that pays 10% interest like they were in the early 80s. That is a possibility in the next couple of years that we could hit that point again. So in today's world, it doesn't make a whole lot of sense at the point we are now to start paying down debt. I would rather, and here's the thing. What I don't want you to do is go blow the $140,000 on a new bass boat or, investing in cryptocurrency or.
Well, you are the bearer of bad news.
you want it there as cash, and if it makes sense, then at some point you could pay down the mortgage or pay off the mortgage or whatever you want to do. But you want the flexibility right now of having cash because we don't know what's coming. But when there are opportunities, cash is king.
That's what I told my wife. I might just sell the truck now and then buy it back in a year or something. And
that's a possibility too.
Left over.
Yeah, except the difference will be in a year or two, you'll be able to buy 3 trucks back like it if you want.
Yeah. Well, that'll be it. Well, thanks for everything. I appreciate your help.
You're welcome. Thanks for the call, and congratulations on putting yourself in a good financial position. Let's head off to Florida. Matt, welcome to the program.
Good morning, Kevin.
Hey, before you get started on your topic, you sent me that text with the tire prices. That's pretty crazy. So a Michelin-wide single right now you found at just over $1,600, but 2 duals were almost $1,500. There's a $142 difference. That's those are really expensive tires, no matter what you say.
Well, I was shocked when the caller said that. I'm like, because I haven't bought tires since last year. Luckily, I bought a whole set ahead, knowing I need them at the end of the year. And if I remember right, it was just over $1,000 or maybe close to $1,100 a tire for the wide singles then.
Yeah.
And that was not quite a year ago yet.
1,600. That's double from where they were at one point in time. I don't know how far back we have to go for $800 wide singles, but I know it wasn't that long ago. That's what we were paying for a Michelin.
Yep. And that's kind of the whole point of my topic today. Was listening to Rico last night and his rate report, and I've been kind of paying attention to the S&P 500 and looking back historically. We all have short-term memories. There's no question about that, including myself. Time's the best. Rates year to date are down significantly. I don't remember the numbers off the top of my head, but it's probably 25-30% drop in rates.
Yeah, at least.
But if we that's just since the first of the year. If we just go back year over year, we're not down that much. I think it was 20, but now in trucking, there's a whole another side to this that makes it worse. The rate itself, I think, was down less than 20 cents a mile for dry van nationwide. But that's an all-in rate. That doesn't include the jump in fuel.
Correct.
So technically, it's down way more than that over the last year. But now looking at... Go ahead.
Well, I was just going to say the number I had from its peak, van rates are down $1 a mile right now if you take fuel out of it.
Nope. And that's basically right around the first of the year. I mean, it might even have been January or February for my personal self. It was, I think, February of this year was the highest I ever seen in my life. Well, I know a guy who just made a round completely off the load board for $1,500 less than what we were getting one way in February.
Oh man, that hurts. Yikes.
So,
wow.
It's crazy.
It is.
Then, so looking at the S&P 500, which when a lot of people say the stock market, this is kind of one of the numbers we use because it's just an average of 500 companies, so it's a pretty good one. Year to date, we are down 18%, which, I mean, we knew we were inflated. It's not really a huge shock. But if we go back one whole year over year, we're only down 4%.
Correct. Yeah. We've had such strong run-ups in so many things that the pullback looks bad, but compared to last year this time, it's not as bad as what it sounds like. It's just historically, and the other thing I'm worried about is this is only the beginning.
Well, I like to be an internal optimist, but I am certainly not predicting that everything is okay. Yeah. Sometimes it doesn't hurt to say, well, let's take a look at it realistically. It might not be as bad as it sounds right now. And I'd like to be optimistic too. I'm having a hard time. And part of it is, one way is to look at each thing individually. But then, and this is hard to get your head around, and we've never dealt with anything like we're dealing with right now. What about when you look at the whole picture of everything that's going on? Then it starts to get a little worrisome. Yep. And so I guess I'd just like a second opinion on an idea I've got for investing. I have about $100,000 cash. Well, not cash, but checking account, savings account money that I'm planning on dumping into the stock market.
Okay.
Right now, my plan is when we hit 30% drop, I just start putting in $1,000 a day. That's $5,000 a week. It would take me 20 weeks to get it put into the market.
Okay.
If we hit 40%, I'll double that and go to $2,000 a day. If we hit 50%, I'll go all the way to $5,000 a day, and then it only takes me a few weeks to get it all in the market. But some way to kind of dollar cost average putting it in based on the drop.
I think that's an excellent strategy. I really do. When we get 30% down, again, based on history, because that's all we have, we don't know if anything bizarre is going to happen in the future right now, but based on history, 30% is a significant drop. You're buying stocks on sale in a big way, and it could very well go to 50. That kind of seems to be where we bottom out in the worst recessions, and starting to dollar cost average the way you're talking about at $1,000 a day at 30%, then bumping it at 40 and 50. I can't think of a better strategy.
Yeah, because obviously I don't want to just dump it all in at once, because what if it goes much lower, you know? And obviously every day it's going to be, pretty volatile. So
yeah, absolutely.
A little bit every day, I think, is a good plan.
When we have these big turnarounds and big shifts, it's always volatile. It's a roller coaster for a while. We're up, we're down, we're up, we're down. It's all over the board. And trying to catch those short-term gains and losses is suicide to me. I just think you're insane if you try to do that. But you're taking a big picture approach. 30% is a significant decrease, and you start buying in a little at a time. And, you could ride that strategy, one, till your cash or 100,000 is invested, but no reason not to continue that if you've got more money too. I mean, ride it back up.
Well, yeah, and if things continue on the track they're on, by the time that happens, by the time I run out of that money, I'll have more.
You'll have more money, exactly, right.
Because the other problem I've run into, we've talked about all year so far, is the 401k thing, and not having any success. I'm getting very close to already maxing everything out for the year. I won't be able to put any more in there.
Yeah,
so up a few $1,000s a month.
Yeah, the other option is you just invest it outside of the retirement account. We don't get the tax break, but the gains now, the potential gains are going to be big enough that if you've got the money, you might as well take advantage of it, even if it isn't tax deferred. So, the numbers right now, like I say, they're kind of scary. There's one more thing I want to talk about before I forget. How old are you? I want everybody else to know.
45.
Okay. If you were 55, we'd be talking about a potentially different strategy. So where you are, this is an awesome strategy. Even if the strategy goes wrong, you still have plenty of time to make it up. It's not that big of a deal. And I don't know how it could go all that wrong. When you start buying at, 30% off the peak, there's not a lot of risk there. If you're buying at 50% off the peak, there's almost no risk, honestly. And if there is a risk,
well, yeah.
If there is a risk and the market actually goes deeper than 50%, well, then everybody's screwed. And this, so other people know, this is extra money. This is not your retirement money. You've already been handling retirement for years and years. You have a bunch of money already in the market. You're putting more money in to try to take advantage of prices. So if if the next call is a 56-year-old who has no retirement money and ask me the same question, I'd have a very different answer for them.
Yeah, and I guess this money has a purpose already, but it's 4 years out, and that's building another house.
Right.
But that's building the house with cash. I've got a paid-for house I plan on selling.
Correct.
Once we build another house, so I'd still be okay, even if the market went down and I decided to leave the money in the market till it did come back. But to actually build a house with cash, and then once that's all said and done, still have my other house to sell that's paid for, I'd be in a excellent position.
This is the beauty of years of doing the right things with money. The decisions that we make, even when they look high risk, really aren't high risk. Yes, you could lose money in a strategy like this, but even if you lost all of this money, which is not going to happen, if it did, honestly, it doesn't change your lifestyle.
No, it would suck, but
yeah, it would.
Yeah,
but
and this comes from listening to you, and actually how I came on to you was listening to Dave Ramsey. And, his show Scattered, this would have been back, 2004, 2005 when I discovered Dave Ramsey.
Yeah. And
was too cheap to buy a satellite radio, but I just got so sick of only catching his show Scattered that I got a satellite radio in 2007, 2008, Christmas there. And that's when I found your show. And on the business side of trucking, it improved things too. But just on the personal side, everybody that has financial issues and would like to understand a better way, just Google Dave Ramsey and take a look at his programs if you haven't heard of them.
And the thing I love about it is it's just drop dead simple. There's nothing complicated in there. It's easy to understand. None of these strategies we talk about are complicated. Even, people hear the S&P 500, and if you don't know, then all of that sounds complicated. But it's really not. All the things we talk about and all the thing Dave Ramsey, what's his line? He learned everything he knows about money from his grandmother, right?
Yep.
It's that simple.
And his most recent book is Baby Step Millionaires, and he did a large study of millionaires. I can't remember the number, 11 or 13,000 millionaires in the United States, and put together statistics. And their investment plan is boring.
Yes, it is.
Nobody wants to hear about it because it's not the latest and greatest and this, get rich quick thing that somebody did. It's
exactly
years and years of investing in a 401k, and
that
is a very good book on Audible too for anybody.
I may go get that.
I think around January.
I may go get that. It's simple enough that I doubt I'll learn anything new, but sometimes just thinking about things in a different way helps you explain it to somebody else better. So that sounds like a book I might throw on my Kindle and get to at some point.
Yeah. The funniest thing I think he probably spent way too much time on there is the comparison between millionaire and billionaire.
Oh, yeah.
It gets tossed around like it's the same thing. And he says straight out, I don't have a plan to get you to billion.
I don't either.
But you got to do something different. Yep.
Yeah, I don't even think about that number. That number doesn't register for me because it's so far out of what being a millionaire. Honestly, I hate to even say this, but being a millionaire in today's world is not that unusual, and it's even not all that difficult. And I'm sure that's what he talks about in the book, that a lot of these people that become millionaires, isn't the average age of when somebody becomes a millionaire somewhere between 50 and 60?
He said it in the book, and so Chris Hogan used to work for Ramsey Solutions. He's moved on to something different now, but I think he did a lot of the studies, and he had a book called, not The Millionaire Next Door, the Everyday Millionaire.
Yeah.
Chris Hogan's book. And so it's a lot the same as Dave's. There's a lot of the same information. I think it was either 47 or 49 is the average age somebody becomes a millionaire.
Okay. I thought it was. I think I remembered from The Millionaire Next Door during your 50s is when a lot of these people really made the biggest gains. You know, their earning potential usually went way up because of all their experience in whatever they do. So they start earning more in their 50s. They're not spending as much. Their house might be paid for by then. So it was like that decade of your 50s, when you're in your 50s, that you really see all this stuff start to happen. Your money starts to multiply more. You're earning more. And a lot of people actually become millionaires during that decade of their 50s.
Yep, correct.
Hey, just so you know, I just happened to look down at the show chat that we always have going on in the background, and I asked you your age, and your wife just said, "Holy crap, what an old fart."
Well, she's over the hill too, so.
That's kind of funny. All right, hey, I got to cut you loose. We've got we've got Rolling Toe coming up here at 9:30. So I'm going to grab this last call. We'll get Rolling Toe lined up and queued up here, and we're going to head off to Nevada. Brandy, welcome to the program.
Thank you, Kevin. This is what I was trying to tell you on Tuesday on the pit, which I really like. So you had said months ago that by Henry Kissinger that whoever controls the food supply controls the world. I looked that up. There's a book called World Order that he wrote, and it looks like it came from the 70s when he was trying to convince Nixon of the power of using the food supply. Well, I find it really interesting that you were mentioning on the pit about all the plants that have caught fire, no longer in production, and everything else that's going on, of how relevant that is to today. And I just wanted to bring that correlation of what you said and remembrance of also what you said with Henry Kissinger, and something to think about.
Well, let's. You're right. That was in the 70s when we first started talking about that and thinking about that concept. Let's bring it up to today, right now. What is probably the single biggest news issue in the U.S. today?
Inflation, but the baby stuff,
yep.
The baby formula.
It's the baby formula.
And everything else.
Yeah. Inflation we've been talking about for well over a year. It's still a huge topic and it's still getting worse. But the real topic today, babies ending up in hospitals because they're malnourished already. There's at least 2 cases I'm aware of in Illinois. Babies ended up in the hospital. They're on IV infusions because these babies need such specialized formula and they have so many allergies that without that man-made chemical-laden formula, these 2 babies are now in the hospital on IV infusions. There's 2 problems with that. Why have our children become so sick and unhealthy that they need all these specialized formulas? We should easily be able to make formula at home. And some people are saying, well, I can't make it at home because my baby's allergic to this and allergic to that. That's a problem. That's a separate problem we need to address, and it keeps getting worse. But the fact that we just have this formula shortage period is insane, but that tells you, look at what happens when we start seeing shortages in food. That's just for babies now. Every indicator seems to be that this is going to get worse across the board, all food.
There's a sense of panic, a sense of smothering kind of feeling. I was watching my Google feed this morning, and they were talking to the drivers that are in that possible rationing. And there's that grip of panic that kind of wants to grip you and really take you. But there's not much we can do about it other than like your show and like fermenting food and all of these different things is what we know, but
yeah,
for the general public.
The good news, one more comment on this, and then I'm going to wrap this up for the day. The good news here, because I hate to just put out bad news all the time, but the ability right now in our country to become self-sufficient around food is not that difficult. Now, if you're broke and the inflationary prices are hurting you, I'm not sure how to help you at this late stage, other than I would be investing your money into gardening. And unfortunately, gardening in the beginning is not cheap. My first 2 years of gardening, I did not save any money on food whatsoever because of all the money. Now, you don't have to spend as much as I did. I was trying to grow a lot of things all at once, expanding my garden, and I do some fairly high-end stuff that's more expensive. But if somebody wanted to say, look, I need a little bit of food security on my own, growing potatoes is really simple and cheap. You can take potatoes from the grocery store that have a couple eyes on them and grow a new potato plant from them.
It's grow well in my passenger seat right here.
Yeah, absolutely.
I've got quite a flower garden.
I would.
Well.
I would highly encourage everybody to start getting a little more secure around your own food. Find local farms that you can buy meat from and build a relationship with a local farm. Find somebody with a local flock of chickens, or 2 or 3 somebodies, and start supporting them. Stop buying your eggs from the grocery store. Buy them from a local farmer. It's summertime. Go hit the farmers markets, find somebody who had, so many cucumbers, they have no idea what to do with them all. Buy them all in bulk and go pickle them or can them. I mean, there are lots and lots of strategies, but you got to go out and start doing it. And I would highly encourage people and learn those, skills of canning meat and fermenting vegetables and pickling and canning and dehydrating and freeze drying, and there's no downside to it. That's the biggest issue. Even if I'm completely wrong, and I could be, we might not have any food, although I can't say that. We already have food issues. Maybe they won't get worse. Maybe this will turn around and get better. If they do, and you learned how to can, and you built some relationships, and you went to more farmers markets, and you started a garden, there's no downside to any of that. It's just pure upside. It's good for your health. It's good for your wallet. It's good for your mental health. I would highly, highly encourage people, start becoming more self-sufficient around food. All right, I'm going to wrap this up. Give us about 10 minutes or so, and we should be launching Rolling Toe Live with Mike and Kevin Beckett. We'll see you back here tomorrow for a Freaky Free-for-All Friday. Be safe. Be profitable, be fit and healthy, always do the hard work and master the journey.